Hello. Hello, hello. I kind of popped in here early just to check to see if my voice is coming through. I think there's actually one person here. Two people. If you can help me sound check and I guess visuals check. I know it's looking a little like hazy, as if I've hotboxed the room. But if anybody has any feedback on how I sound, or if do I just need to project louder, hopefully there's no like feedback or anything. If so, I do have headphones that I might be able to connect, but okay, gonna test more things out. I have some visual aids. I don't know if they'll work. I think they will. Okay, cool. Oop. Oh, geez. My visual aids. Hello. My friend is helping me sound check. Can you hear me? Is there nasty feedback? Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna hide. Or perhaps I can just dance and entertain you and the passersby on the street. Okay, I'm gonna hide again. My friend complimented my hair, which is funny because I did blow out my bangs, but then it's been raining. I actually just went to a party in Manhattan. I went there for like 20 minutes and then came back and I was soaking wet. The line was really long outside for some reason. And I got flattened. But I mostly dried off by now. Also, put stuff in the chat to encourage people to chat so I don't feel so lonely. Like I'm just talking into a box, please. I think for the first few minutes, hi, thank you. For the first few minutes, I think I'll just chit chat, kind of waiting to see if more people will show. I think we're gonna if I get to the double digits, I'll honestly be pretty excited. Um, but either way, I'm kind of just also excited to have a recording of like a little tour of this that's automatically on my YouTube page, which I have not updated or added any new videos to for like over a year. But all right, it's officially the time. We'll see when people roll in. Oh, hi. Hi, Julia. Yay. Okay, side quest is to try not to cry on this stream. How's everyone doing? I hoped like I was hoping a Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Western. Yeah, wait, Western? So, yeah. Would be a good time. We'll see. We'll see. That's fair. That's fair. I got Pacific. Thank you. I was like, wait, I'm from there. Why can't I remember? I'm gonna blame the on-stage jitters. I was like, I know Central and even Mountain. My dad's in Mountain. I remember my home zone. Home zone. Okay, maybe at 3 or 5 minutes, I'll start going. Oh, should I? Maybe I'll type in what my sort of things I'm going to cover are. Agenda. I can't think of a. Oh no, I thought it was going to let me enter in multiple lines. Uh-oh, that looks like I said something naughty and then took it back. Cool. Okay, send a message, and then I think I can pin it. Cool. So I will say that mere feet away from me is a pretty busy New York street. So you might hear street sounds. And there's also some kind of theater production thing rehearsing in the back. So, and it is a rehearsal space that primarily has experimental theater in it. So they might be making experimental sounds, but they are a little far away. So I think we'll be good. Hello. If anyone feels comfortable to say hi and say who they are in the chat, that'd be cool. Oh, wait, maybe I should also add that as a pinned message. Can I pin multiple? We'll see. Oh no, we can only do one pinned message, so whatever. Okay, I guess I'll get started. So the first thing that I want to talk about was talking more about this phase of my career a little bit because I need to practice coming up with an artist statement. I'm about to apply to a lot of like grants and fellowships. One that I'm really trying to get needs to have a 100-word artist statement, which seems like not enough words. The only thing that I feel particularly firm in, or what I think is a topic sentence that I like, is my work is me testing the waters of where I fit in diaspora. That's my topic sentence. The rest is going to be rambly. But so visually, my work right now very much pulls from, I'd say it's a love letter to Chinese crafts. So Chinese textiles and embroidery, as well as the art of cloisonne, which I will probably get into a little bit more later, and ceramics. Very much out of respect and kind of in tribute to the practice of handicrafts. I love things that are made by hand, things that are generally like useful objects. There's like an art word for that I cannot remember, as opposed to like just, fine art that goes on the wall. And also a lot of Chinese motifs that I've grown up with. The idea of like where I fit in diaspora. So I am second generation Chinese Taiwanese on my mom's side. She's from Taiwan, but my grandparents are from China. And on my dad's side is white American for a good long time, like at least 100 years, I think. So when people are like, well, what kind of white? I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter because they've been American for so long. But technically, like English and perhaps a little bit of Swedish. Growing up, or just all throughout my life, I've often felt a separation between me and my Chinese culture. Both a huge tie to my Chinese culture and a separation. So the tie to it is that I grew up in a very Chinese or a very Asian part of, and like specifically Chinese and even specifically Taiwanese part of California. And I also went to Chinese school every single day after school. Like a bunch of my best friends were all second generation East Asian. Our town had bubble tea and soup dumplings well before they became like national trends and all that good stuff. So in many ways, I'm incredibly Asian, incredibly specifically, I'd say second generation Asian American, which I do think is its own special thing. But because of how I look and the fact that I'm only half, I've often felt separated from it. Sometimes from, oh my God, I'm nervous. When I was a kid, it was often from my Chinese community itself, usually like parents and stuff. You might be familiar with the stereotype that Chinese people are pretty blunt about certain things. So when I was a kid, I often heard like, oh, she's so tall, she has brown hair. It's currently dyed black from Halloween. They'd be like, oh, she's so tall, she has brown hair, she's fat, got a big nose. And so feeling that kind of separation of not feeling Chinese enough. And as I'm older, and as I left that like very Asian place, whereas back home, even though they would kind of point out the ways in which I wasn't Chinese enough, they at least always recognized that I was half Chinese. But leaving California, I feel like it's about 50-50, maybe even less, that people even know that I am Chinese based off of looking at me, even if I have black dyed hair and like blunt bangs and big old cat eye. But anywho, so over the past few years, especially with all the anti-Asian hate rising in 2020, I felt more separation from my community in the sense that that's like the one true like lived experience that's always going to separate me from them, is that I haven't experienced discrimination on the same level as like even my own family members. And because of that, I've kind of held back from doing too much art inspired by my culture for fear of like being perceived as appropriating Chinese culture, even though I am Chinese. It's about sort of balancing these feelings of not feeling Chinese enough to be able to participate in it, and like shedding that, getting rid of that kind of anxiety, realizing that that is also white supremacy at work, and just being out here proud, fully, or not fully, loudly half Chinese, and still being like, I still get to participate and make cool stuff and honor the art that I've always been obsessed with. Like I said, I'm gonna have to figure out how to trim that down to 100 words, but yeah. So getting into the work specifically, I guess I should have like pulled up my actual artist statement from the show. I can just go through it. So the show is called 混沌, Chaos and Delight. So 混沌is the name for the primordial chaos from which the universe was formed in Chinese mythology. So in this creation story, at the beginning of everything, there was an egg. And in that egg was primordial chaos, a soupy mix, everything mixed together, all trapped in an egg. And then randomly, somehow there's a dude inside of it, because of course there's a dude involved who don't know how he got there, but he was in there, and he breaks the egg open, and he notices that the light elements that were inside the egg start floating up, and the heavy elements float down. And he wanted to keep them separated. He wanted to lift the light up and press the heavy down. So he did. So he stood there and lifted up the sky, lifted up the heavens, and pressed the ground down. But every time he stepped away, they would collapse again. And then finally, he just kept standing there. And for long enough that they finally cemented in place, he kept growing taller and taller and taller into a giant until the heaven and the earth became locked in place. And that's how the universe was formed. And then he collapsed because he was real tired, which is understandable. And then his body became like the earth, the trees, all that stuff. And his name was Pangu. And I've been doing a lot of research, including getting a kid's book, which is fun because this reminds me of the art style of books that I got at Chinese school as a kid. But for some reason, not only is Pangu a dude in this, but he's also like a white dude? I don't know, question mark? Got brown hair. So that's funny. So anyways, so my connection, honestly, I dislike a lot of Chinese mythology and a lot of certain aspects of Chinese culture. Chinese culture is very hierarchical. It's very patriarchal. There's a lot of splitting things, dividing things. So even that light and heavy, it kind of reminds me of yin and yang, which yin and yang has been, first of all, it's like yin and yang, actually. And it's been kind of co-opted by hippies and whatnot as like a groovy like peace and mixing thing. But those two things are like, there's the light and the dark side of it. And the light side of it is also the male side of it. And it's like seen as strong and good and light. And then the female side is dark. Anywho, so these works kind of go from order back into chaos, kind of embracing, remixing things, letting things be messy, getting rid of hierarchy and separation. And that's very much what I'm trying to do inside of me. So yeah, I guess now I can actually show you the goodies. So here's the first wall, and I do have like an intended viewing order for these. So this is the first wall, and it's meant to represent a little bit more like order. So even though this mountain is on top of a cloud, which is like, I guess I'm already flipping heavy and light in this situation. The cloud being the base of this is honestly kind of aesthetic. I think it is cool to have a mountain on a cloud. But for the most part, it's kind of following the way that the earth is. There's a mountain, the water's flowing down, some of the clouds are above the mountain. And this waterfall, for some reason, one of my videos about this waterfall got like over 400K views on TikTok, which is cool, but a little bit puzzling. But a lot of people are like, oh, it's pretty gay because it's got the colors of the rainbow in it. And they're like, why'd you put a rainbow? But actually, so a lot of the elements from this piece and this has sort of a companion at the end of the show. So this is the orderly one, and the other one is like more chaos. But they both, yeah, I can show you more. The one page here and I'll bring you in closer later too. The one page here at the gallery says, please don't pet the art, but I would love to be able to offer that. But so a lot of the elemental things like earth and water that I have in my pieces is pulled pretty directly from Chinese textiles and kind of specifically emperor's robes, because emperor's robes are really cool in that, let's find a good example. I did not prep all my materials as well as I should have. Let's see if we can show you. So in the emperor's robes, so emperors always have dragons, and only emperors are allowed to have a 5-clawed dragon. But anyway, so the dragons are up in the heavens, so there's clouds. There's kind of interspersed little flames everywhere. But at the bottom, these like wavy lines, that's the water. And then there's mountains with waves splashing up against the mountains. So it is, like heaven, earth, and water. And I like that. I like that the actual emperor's robes is like a whole tapestry. So my water is actually a pretty faithful interpretation of some very traditional emperor's robes of water. I definitely prefer the very colorful ones. So yeah, I essentially just copied, okay? I copied everything. I stole all of these ideas, but from my own peoples, so it's okay. And they're an emperor, so I'm punching up. So yeah, and the other part that kind of represents order is these medallions. That's what I've been calling them. I don't know what to call them, really. But I did bookmark my medallions page. If I didn't just lose my bookmark, I did just lose my bookmark. Cool. One moment, please. Here we go. So these, again, are pulled pretty directly from these portraits of the emperor and empress. The book is a little too heavy for me to be able to point, but it's in the like carpet pattern on the ground. I only just realized that that's extra funny because it's literally a carpet and it's like kind of a carpet. But another way in which my art really draws on different Chinese elements is through color. So it's not so much in the emperor's robes because they do tend to skew a little bit more like stately. Yellow is used a lot in emperor's robes. That color is also reserved for the emperor. Yellow is an auspicious color, which I actually didn't know what the word auspicious literally or like actually meant until doing my research, but it means like an omen of success and wealth and good luck. I think I just thought it also meant something bad, like suspicious. But yeah, so less so in the emperor's robes, but I remember going through 2 temples in China and Taiwan as a kid, and those are so colorful. These like kind of bold colors. Obviously, I'm taking some liberties of my personal aesthetic, but big, blocky, like jewel tone, obviously lots of red. We love red. But also a lot of greens, like green and red, but not Christmassy. So I feel like I'm taking the more reserved, revered stuff from emperors and kind of making it more colorful and of the people and a little bit more folky. And then the bats aren't really necessarily a part of like being orderly. I just thought they looked good above the medallions. But I can show you another reference. So this is a book of Chinese opera costume motifs. And it's actually curated by an actual drama institute, like a Chinese curated thing. You'll see a lot of like Chinese motif books that are just like traced stencils by a white person of Chinese art, which I don't think like necessarily should discount that altogether, but just, it's good to know the context of where you're getting your reference from. But yeah, so here are some of my references for bats. And then I made my bats. Okay, so we'll see if I can pull you up closer. If this is too like car sicky, let me know. So let's see if I can show you. I also have to do everything in mirror. So I want to show you the depth of it. Oh. So yeah, this piece is lots of tiny little rugs glued onto a set of layered wood to give it extra dimension. And I have a video on my TikTok explaining how I did the waterfall too. Okay, I'm gonna take you to the next section. I'm gonna mute because we're on the computer's on a rickety ladder, and I think it's gonna be loud and annoying. So actually, I might move the computer first and then bring the ladder rather than move the ladder with the computer on it. That seems like a wise thing to do. I realized I should have used, there's like streaming software, but I wasn't able to change the stream from like just the laptop to the streaming software. Okay, here's the preview while I bring the ladder. Okay, here's the next section. So the two snakes are, actually I'll start with the middle. So this is again like a pretty direct pull in a lot of ways from the bottom of those emperor's robes. Actually, one of my best friends, when I showed them this, was like, oh, that's interesting. You put a rainbow underneath a cloud. I'm like, no, it's water. It's water. And then, of course, everyone on the internet is like, oh, that's pretty gay. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm a little gay. So there you go. And then the two snakes. So the shape of them, okay, it like lagged a little bit on my end. So the shape of the snakes is actually pulled from the emperor's robes as well. Like I pointed out, the emperor's robes have dragons on them. Dragons are generally considered to be like the king of animals in Chinese culture. Yet another thing that I actually don't like. Okay, now that I'm talking about this, another thing I might add to my artist statement thingy is kind of finally feeling confident to critique Chinese culture out loud. And to be like, no, it comes from actually knowing it, and I'm not a white person critiquing Chinese culture. Anyways, so not only are dragons like the best animal, but also dragons come in the Chinese zodiac 1 year before the snake. And I'm born in the year of the snake, and I kind of didn't like it as a kid just because I was scared of snakes, which I think is natural. Less scared of snakes now. I think like a normal, healthy scared of snakes, which is scared of snakes I don't know. But yeah, so I didn't want to exalt the dragon too much. I wanted to bring the snake into it. So I copied some of the shapes of it, but made them snakes. And then I'll bring you closer for, and if you have questions at any time, just throw them in the chat and I'll figure out when to get to them. So these patterns, these like kind of curly Q patterns, they're meant to emulate cloisonné. I'm probably not pronouncing that right because I'm not French. So cloisonne is, I remember seeing a cloisonne piece when my mom took me with her to work. She had some like, it was like a compact with some cloisonne on it. So cloisonne is a enameling technique where you take strips of metal and you form a pattern on a metal base and you like solder it together, I guess, forming little compartments. So the curly cues are meant to nod to some of those metal compartment frames. And I think they're called like cloison, which is where cloisonne comes from. And that's French for, I think, like something like compartment. I have it written down in a script that I wrote for a TikTok video that I haven't filmed yet. But yeah. And then you fill the chambers that it makes with enamel, and then you melt it down, and it becomes one solid enamel piece. And I was obsessed with it. That's probably the first Chinese handicraft that I really like got into. So cloisonne holds a special place in my heart. I have gone on several Google and YouTube like whole rabbit holes trying to figure out if it's possible for me to do cloisonne. And my friend Ariana, who's on, is probably going to have to talk me out of getting a glass kiln to do cloisonne at some point. Okay, we're gonna do another pivot. So I will turn the mic off in case it becomes loud. Don't worry, I already talked myself out of getting the glass kiln, okay? Okay, so this piece is not like really a part of the show in the same way. It's just a thing that I had at home that I decided to bring in to kind of add to the ambiance and to like fill out some space in the room. But so I am kind of obsessed with the idea of like rescuing furniture that's either on like Facebook Marketplace for real cheap or for free, or literally off the street from the trash in New York. So this top piece is actually a trash mirror that I found on my birthday one year. I took it home. I had it for a while until I figured out what to do with it. And then I bought this like little bar thing off of Craigslist or something for $40. And then I painted it. So um, this is definitely not for sale because I don't think I did a very good paint job because it was supposed to be just a home thing. And I didn't really try too hard to make, especially the lines on the bottom, very nice. But again, this is me echoing that water pattern and even kind of putting it on the bottom like the emperor's robes and then having the clouds on top. So yeah, I've been kind of into this emulating emperor's robes for a minute. And then this is also where the stickers are. So I got some stickers made. I can show those at the end. They're for sale here right now, obviously, but I'm also setting up a separate website, like other than the Cookie Smut store, for stuff related to the show. Cool. We're gonna do another pivot. So I'm gonna mute. And this is the last wall of what I would say is sort of the main part of this exhibit. I don't know what words to say. So here's kind of the companion piece to the mountain. It's just called Egg. The other one's just called Mountain. This is called Egg. Everything has very simple names because I don't know how to name them. So this is that return to chaos, right? Going back into the egg form. And I do like try to get folks to view it in this order. I think the space naturally allows people to view it in this order. So yeah, I tried to have some just to show some like movement, but also containment. with the egg and the fire and all that. So this piece, though, I did, here, I can bring you closer. So though I did add some dimension through the way that I sculpt my pieces, it doesn't have the same, it's just like one piece. It doesn't have the wood dimension yet. The guy who I hired from the lumberyard to cut me the pieces didn't have them done in time. I actually just picked them up today. So I will be remaking this piece in slightly different colors with the added extra dimension and with another waterfall as soon as I can. I don't know. I'm somehow like busier after the show went up than before the show. Or just a different kind of busy, one where I have to leave the house, which is a lot. And then these four, I don't know how to point in mirror. These four kind of meant to go together. And they are inspired by the dragon and tiger pagodas in Kaohsiung, Taiwan. And yeah, so again, I wish I'd had the other streaming platforms so I could add my visual aids in. But I've also made some videos about this on my page, so you can take a look, or just Google dragon and tiger pagoda, because presumably you're on a device that can do that. But so there are these pagodas that sit a little bit in the middle of Lotus Lake in Kaohsiung, Taiwan. It's spelled, well, I guess you can just search the pagoda name. They're literally just called Dragon and Tiger Pagoda. But the spelling for Kaohsiung is like really wonky. No, it's telling me my connection is unstable. Whoopsie. Okay. Okay. Cool. I just went to also grab my phone in case my tech crew, aka Ariana, texted me that I was gone. Cool. So the dragon and the tiger, they're really long. They take up like the whole walkway. They're like massive. And you get to walk through the mouth of the dragon and of the tiger. And I saw that when I was maybe like 13 and was super obsessed with it. When I look at it now, after all of the like Instagram traps, I'm like, oh, I get it. It's like big, kind of kitschy installation pieces that you can interact with. Like, it all makes sense. It's all the same thing. So these are dedications to that. In my ideal world, someone would buy all four together and install them like this. This one's actually at a wrong angle. It should be pointed like 45 degrees in like this. I'll have to rehang it. And then I can bring you closer to the chairs as well. I guess I shouldn't have been too surprised, but folks were very into the chairs, which are also a trash rescue, which I don't know if I don't know if that devalues them or increases the sort of sentimental value. Wait, there are a couple more pieces. I'll just take you there by hand, maybe. I don't know if these are showing up mirrored for you as well. The stinky little flame, it's actually part of a piece that I haven't finished yet. And I had kind of thrown up the extra flame bits to fill out the space. But they were up there only with command strips for now, because they're going to have a different permanent configuration. And then the other 3 out of 4 fell. So this piece says Jiao, which is used as a cheer. Like if you go to a sporting event, cheer for your team. Or if you're my sister, to make fun of me and to cheer me on for very basic tasks around the house. But it literally means add gas or add oil. And even though I like growing up, because it's this like cheer and it's used in a very positive kind of light way, I hadn't really thought about other ways that, like other consequences to adding gas. But again, during like 2020, I thought about making it kind of drawing on a little bit more of the violent things that the idea of adding gas can evoke, and especially like sort of igniting the fighting fire within us to combat anti-Asian hate. Although it does end up looking really cutesy anyways. So I don't know how successful that aspect of it was. Maybe I'll do another one that's a little bit more edgy. And then here is a piece, just says chaos. Again, I think it's mirrored, so, but you get it, right? Get it. And yeah, so I've been obsessed with the word chaos, and the idea of finding delight in the chaos, and finding a way to be comfortable amidst, chaos. Oh, not mirrored, sweet. It's mirrored for me. Cool. Yay. Oh, no. Okay, 1 second. That's okay. So our gallery hours are from 12 to 5 on Saturdays and Sundays, or by appointment. Okay. I'm the artist, actually. Okay, cool. If you want to, yeah. Okay, so I just. You could like DM me, or I should put my email somewhere. Yeah, I was about to say your email on here, but I can DM you. Here's this too. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks. LOL. I couldn't risk not getting an interested party back in here. I should have just let her in and let her join the stream. So yeah, I don't know if anybody has any questions or wants to see anything again or in a different way, but just let me know. Oh, but yeah, in addition to, so I'm going to be redoing the egg with that layered thing and with another waterfall. No, that was just aesthetic choices for the snakes. So my original plan for the colors of the snakes was to have them be mostly red, with the curly cues being gray. The gray to like be a more faithful nod to the cloisonné thing, because that would be the metal part, and the red would be enameled, and then red because Chinese. But when I started tufting it, I didn't like how it was looking together. It might just be like the quality of the red and of the gray that I had. I even bought this like shiny banana yarn that I thought would add shimmer and again like more evoke all of that, and I just didn't like it, so I went with my trusty dusty mint and purple combo, which is one of my faves. Is there a handicraft that you wished you were able to showcase that you couldn't, or would like the chance to? Yes. Oh my God, I have so many things that I want to add, and hopefully I will get to add them. So my friend Teresa, who runs the space, is so generous with the amount of time that I have here. So I have 2 months, and as they saw me freaking out about getting things in here, they were like, "Don't worry, you can add to it, you can grow it. Like, let's have a closing party too. So when people come back, there's going to be new stuff." So some things that I have planned are to make Chinese knots. So that's another thing that I've always really liked. I love things that have like an extra engineering aspect to them, or a little bit more craft behind it. And Chinese knots are fascinating to look at. You can kind of trace the pathway of the cord through the knot. So I've had a book out from the library for a really, really long time about Chinese knots, and I have not gotten to start it yet. So I want to make really, really big ones. I love playing with scale and with color. I don't know why I'm out of breath. Um, so the same cord that I used for the waterfall would be an option for me to try out with the Chinese knots. So if we get real close. So these were made with eye cord. So each strand of the waterfall, each color, is like a tiny knitted tube. Um, okay, Julia. I'll definitely probably start with that. Or actually, I should probably start with like using the real cord just to get a hang of some things and learn some stuff. But the yarn cords would probably be another thing that I try just to have a slightly bigger scale. And then a dream, I don't know when this could possibly be done, but I do have a knitting machine that I've never used. This is my way, is to buy a bunch of stuff that I never use. But I will, so long as I use it one day, I'll have used it. So it's currently under my bed. So I have an idea to make like a really, 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 really long panel of knitting and to stitch it up into a tube and then make a knot out of that. And then with the knitting machine that I have, I could potentially work in a lot more patterns with it too. So, all the Chinese knots, the cord is just one color, but I think it'd be cool to incorporate, again, more like Chinese motifs in my fun color palette into the actual cords themselves and then make a knot out of it. And then I also want to do some paper mache vases, kind of working in the ceramics part of it, because, Chinese ceramics, very famous. And another thing that I'm going to try and highlight in my little artist statement or technical statement or whatnot is, the things that I'm emulating, the things that I'm trying to honor are these handicrafts that usually like a person dedicates their life to that, right? And there's a whole trade system and like apprentices and whatnot. And what I'm doing is sort of, I don't know, sort of a bastardization of a lot of those things in a lot of way. But I want to sort of embrace that and be like, well, I'm a modern American person. There's no way, like, I would love to go get an apprenticeship at there's like specific kind of silk brocade embroidery weaving that I would love to go and just like do 5 years of that. But that's not going to happen. So I'm going to use my rug tufting gun. I'm going to use paper mache to emulate, these priceless fine porcelain antiques, and happily do so and paint it over with brightly colored acrylic paint instead of that blue and white. So yeah. So those are the two main things that I would love to be in this space by the end of my run. And also I'm trying to get something for the little portfolio that I have to put together for this one fellowship that I'm applying to. So everything is for sale here. And I also have to add to the little guide that's in this room that, so the egg, like I mentioned, like I'll be doing another version of it, but both versions and the mountain are definitely complete, like one of a kind. I'll never make anything like it again, or I'll make other things like it, but never that exact design again. But everything else is also open for like commission. So if you like the snakes but want to see a different color, I'm happy to do that. And same thing with like the medallions or the bats. I don't know. I think I would feel okay with repeating those, so long as would want to make it clear to whoever's buying it that like I might make another one in the same color combo, just so they know that like it's not one of a kind or whatever, and don't get mad later. But yeah, everything's for sale, and yeah, a couple of friends have commissioned smaller pieces like to get something done, but in a different color. So, yay! Love for Chinese knotting. Sweet, yeah. Like I said, I'm also getting a like separate website, or it's actually shaunatang.com. But I'm going to be putting it's a Squarespace site, so I'm going to put a separate storefront up there too, and try and list everything related to this there, so I can keep track of those sales, so I can give the gallery the correct cut. And then I'll also have a lot of smaller things too. Some of them have been started, but I haven't had time to finish them. But I'd like some individual clouds, and what else did I have? that's all for now. Oh, and the mountain and the egg, I also want to do, so like, I don't really know whether or not to make prints for these things because like, I don't really know if people buy prints of like sculptures, like prints of an illustration or of a painting, I feel like makes sense because it's a relatively close reproduction, but like, these have like a texture to them that I don't know if it would translate. Hello, Siren. Into like a print of a photo. I don't know if people are interested in that. But for the egg and for the mountain, since I have like fully done a digital version of this, like in Illustrator, I have all the shapes traced out, which is what I use to make my stickers. I also want to do some paper craft. So to make like in a shadow box, an 8x8 shadow box, a little mini representation of this in paper that has the different layers and dimension. So I just bought a bunch of scrapbooking paper on the internet last night. I like hyper focused on it for a couple hours until I got hopefully exactly the right colors. And so yeah, those little shadow boxes, I'm sort of considering like prints of the pieces in a way. And those would be at a much lower price than all these things. Like, not gonna lie, that mountain, I put it at a pretty high price. It's expensive. I think it's the right price, but it is high. And then I'll show you the stickers. They're right here. So we've got our two snakes, also inverse of each other. Mountain. So this is actually a clear sticker, and the like blue circle is a little bit see-through. Same thing with the egg, the blue part. Oh, look. Hi. I actually will be making a TikTok that's like, anyway. And then the two bats. And then for the rainbow cloud, I added glitter because it felt right. Can you describe the ideation and or process of building the layers for mountain and future egg number 2? I don't remember how exactly it happened because I was high. I honestly, I think Ariana already knows this, but I've been like not even but just like exploring getting high. I've often not liked smoking weed because I get paranoid, but I found Delta 8 recently, and I have been smoking and drawing recently and just having so much fun. And as I was working, so I knew I wanted to do something with mountain and clouds together, kind of from the get-go, again, of just like thinking about different like elements of the universe and kind of playing around with where they go. So originally I wanted to do something like the mountain, but upside down. And I went through lots of stages of trying to draw that, and it just didn't look right. And one day I was like, let's just see what it looks like, flipped right side up. And it all just kind of flowed more naturally from me. I could actually like see the mountain, and especially I should pull you in front of the mountain. So I think it really came about when I added these little wisps of cloud. Oh God. So as I was trying to figure out the curves of these clouds, like getting the curves of my clouds and my fires and stuff has been just a really fun process to like get it sort of in my hand, in my muscle memory. So as I was figuring out, I think especially this one, because it starts behind the mountain and comes to the front, I started thinking about like, well, I want it to actually start from behind the mountain and come to the front. And I think that's where it just kind of led from there. It's like, okay, what if, like I already sculpt with some amount of dimension, and I think I'm kind of known for that within the tufting community of adding dimension through sculpting. I was like, okay, what are ways that we can add even more dimension? And then honestly, it's kind of a lot to keep track of all the different layers and how to get the right shapes of wood so that when I put the rugs on, that they're the right shape, and then also getting the rugs the right shape. I don't know. There's a lot of thought, like that I could not do while still high. I had to do that the next day. All right. Any more questions? If not, then I will log off. Alrighty. I'll just also say, I don't know who's left on, but so yeah, the stickers will also be up on that website. That'll be a little, I'll be doing gallery hours here, so I should have, from 12 to 5 Saturday and Sunday to start setting up that website. Thanks, Julia. Thank you for joining me. All right. I'm gonna log off. All right. Thank you so much. Wait. Oh, you gotta press it twice.